Now we're asking, should flu jabs be free for everybody? Flu jabs are currently being rolled out, and it's hoped they'll ease pressure on the NHS this winter and ward off the so-called tripledemic of flu, RSV and a brand new strain of COVID. But only some people are eligible for the free ones. Let's have a look, actually. Who's eligible for a free one? Well, if you are in this country, in England anyway, we've got pregnant women, children, people over 65, people with underlying health conditions and carers. If you're not in those categories, you're going to have to pay for your own flu jab. In Northern Ireland, it's pretty much the same as that. In Scotland, though, it's a very different picture, because in Scotland, you've got prisoners who have access to free flu jabs, also the homeless, substance abusers and asylum seekers. So it's a much kind of broader range of people. And if we have a look at Wales, what we see is pregnant women, children, 65 plus, health conditions, carers, and also the homeless in Wales are eligible for a flu jab. So the question is, do you think everyone really should get a flu jab for free? 0207 862 2222, that's the number. Do give us a ring. Tessa, I mean, if everyone did, presumably it would be a great boon for the nation's health.
Yeah, I think, but the flip side of that is we've all got incredibly paranoid about vaccines. I heard even in the news this morning, AstraZeneca, you know, those who are and aren't eligible for the COVID vaccinations, and a very small minority of people having really sometimes fatal responses to that vaccination. So we have to recognise that there's this base level wariness about the state injection. But I say this as someone who has an elderly mother, and I am an elderly mother, and I have a young child, so I'm 50 with a 6-year-old. And because I'm not very good at bureaucracy, I somehow missed the offer to give her a flu jab at school. Right. And she gave me flu, and I have never been as ill for a month. In February of this year, I had a temperature over 40 consistently on and off for nearly 30 days. And it was quite unbelievable. And if she had had that vaccination, so I think it's unrealistic to think we could all have a vaccination, but I really do think actually school-aged children...
But you would have got it had you filled in the right form on the right day, right?
Yeah, I think I'd make it almost compulsory that you have to opt out.
Right. I mean, I just want to say, because it would be wrong if I didn't, my elder daughter was hospitalised in the winter of 2022, and she was so desperately
with flu.
This was the point. She was acutely ill. She couldn't lift her head. She was on a drip. She was desperately ill and getting worse. And it seemed like it was something so severe, so worrying. What could it possibly be? Finally, they came up with the diagnosis: flu. I said to the surgeon or the consultant in the hospital, I said, but she's been vaccinated. She's had the flu vaccine. And he looked at me and he said, just imagine what would have happened if she hadn't. And that's why I'm telling this, because it seems to me that vaccine, he was saying, saved her life. She was deadly ill, but she did not die.
I couldn't. And thankfully, you know, I mean, that's dreadful.
We don't often think of flu as a killer, but it is.
I mean, look,
absolutely.
I'm from a family of doctors, and the thing is, they're saying that one flu jab, there are many different viruses. That's the thing. So people will say, "Oh, I'll get the flu jab," but then they still will get ill and get the flu, and some sadly do have bad symptoms from the jab as well. And I think it would be a good idea to have like a survey of after winter time and say, look, did you take the flu jab and did it really benefit you, and did you have any symptoms after, and did it help? Because there are so many different viruses. You get them through schools and hospitals. There isn't one full jab that will get that precise.
All right, so we've got to take a break now, but do stay with me, because we're going to be hearing from you in just one moment, and we're asking, should flu jabs be free for everyone? Maybe you've decided to pay for yours, maybe you don't want to. What do you think? Should they be free for all? 0207. Now, we're going back to the subject of flu jabs. Should they be free for everybody? I'd love to know your thoughts. Do give us a call on 0207 862 2222. Lizzie, what do you think? Have you had one? Are you going to have one?
No, I'm not going to have one. I'm one of these very lucky people that don't get flu. And I think it's down to my mother again. I keep talking about her today. But she used to throw me into mud to play, and she's built my immune system up to this great length. Well, I don't live in filth, but I think you've got to build up your own immune system, take supplements, which I do, vitamin C, vitamin D. I do great lemons and garlic and onions.
Don't you?
I do exercise, and I think there is a lot of keeping yourself well and healthy. And that's what your immune system is for, to heal. It's like a cut. You'll heal over. You can do it. So that's what I believe, and I'm a very positive person. I think it all has an
Let's
effect.
talk to Emma. Emma's in London. Hello, Emma. What about the flu jab? Should it be free for everyone?
Yes, it should. And the reason that it should be free for everybody is because it protects other people from getting the flu, and it also protects the NHS. Less people would end up in hospital.
Yes.
It'll end up costing the NHS a heck of a lot less money to give everybody the flu jab than for somebody to be in hospital for a month or end up on ventilators and all that. So why not give it to everybody?
Have you been jabbed yet this
Save them
year?
the money.
Have you had yours?
Yes, well, I'm getting jabbed later on in a couple of days, actually. I get my flu jab and my COVID jabs done at the same time. I've got a weakened immune system anyway.
Right.
But if the flu's like less bad out there and less people are catching it because they've had the jabs and that done, it makes it safer for me and everybody else.
Right, and so you'd like to see everyone getting it rolled out free across the country.
Well, I just think everybody should have it done. It will cost a lot less money than them having to be treated in hospital if they get sick.
But there's not just one virus. That's the thing. There are all
But the thing is,
different
you have
loads
one
of different
every year.
viruses.
You have one every year, and your
And you
immune
can still get the
system
flu
will have some of the.
because it won't be.
Yeah, but if you get it, you'll get it less bad, and it also, because you get one done every year, it means that you probably got some protection from one of the other jabs you've had done anyway.
Well,
so
you don't want to
it's
lower
better.
your own immune system. That's what I'm saying, and I think it's really great if we can.
But I don't think
take
it does
extra
lower your own immune
vitamins.
system. I think it makes it safer for
It doesn't.
people that are vulnerable.
Well,
Emma's right there.
well, no,
I'm coming in here now.
I'm going to disagree because I think it does.
But if you look statistically, a quarter of those over 65 who get a free flu jab, they are less likely, a quarter less likely to be hospitalised. But that number bizarrely goes up for those who don't get a free flu jab. So our age group, under 65, we're a third less likely to be hospitalised, people like your daughter, if we've had the flu jab.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if I had had the flu jab last year when I had this horrific ongoing flu, I would have shaken it off within a week. Instead, I was ringing up, and this really matters, doesn't it, your reputation at work. They're like, are you still ill? And because people say they've got the flu when they've actually got a cold.
Oh, it's nothing like the
they
real
don't-
thing, is it?
But I was going,
Yeah.
I can't actually sit up in bed, you
Yes.
know. I can hardly talk to you. Go away.
Honestly, let's talk to Anne in East Ayrshire about this. Hello, Anne. Do you have a flu jab?
Hi. Yes, yes, I do. I'm immunocompromised,
right.
and I think everyone should have it because, well, I'm going to go with Emma here in London. Lemon and garlic, lovely, all that, blah blah blah.
It helps. It works. It's no good for your breath, but believe me, it works.
It works for you.
I don't know
No,
if
it
it works
doesn't.
to ward
It
off a
doesn't.
really
It
nasty
doesn't.
flu virus. I
Actually,
think.
it doesn't immunise you against influenza. Influenza decimated most of the population of Europe at one point. This is not a joke. It's really, really not. And the spread of influenza is extremely important to contain. And I think the NHS would actually be very, very, yes, less burdened if it was given out to, yes, the homeless, drug addicts, everyone should have it that are, willing to have it. It's not about press gang people. It's about anyone that wants it should have it free.
Good.
And thank you very much. Let's go to Mavis in Leeds. Mavis, hello. Thanks for ringing.
Okay, love, yeah.
Hi, Mavis. What do you think about the flu jab then?
Well, I think everybody should have it. I've had it already.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my sister had the jab and she was poorly after having the jab. And I said, well, do you take multivitamins or do you look after yourself, eat the right food? She says, well, I don't take multivitamins. I said, well, you want to start doing it then, and you'd probably find you've got a bit more immunity.
Yeah. I think you've got to be responsible for your own health and look after yourself. As I said,
Oh,
take
yeah.
multivitamins and eat the right foods, exercise,
Yeah, but that
just
only
do it.
takes you so
But
far.
You it doesn't necessarily mean, Tess, because you have this jab, you aren't going to get the flu.
know, but you
because
will
there are
get it less
so
severely.
many different viruses that can then affect you.
Statistically,
That's
you
the
will
point.
get it less severely.
Not necessarily.
A third less likely
Not
to be
necessarily.
hospitalised if you
Sadly,
had
some
the jab.
people can have a really bad effect from the flu jab as well, which you've got to look at.
Well, you feel a bit ill, but
You
not
can
as
feel
ill as you would if you had the
No.
flu. That's
and
the thing.
and it's everyone's choice, but we know, and as I say, I do think for the over 65s and people that are vulnerable and have, and really bad health conditions, but it's a choice, and I think it's very important to build your own immune system up.
This has
That's
reminded
why we
me
have it.
to go down
That's
to
why
the
we have
chemist
it.
and pay my 20 quid. I'm just wondering if I can tax the doctor as a work expense.
Well, I'm sure you will find a way.
I mean, obviously it's everybody's own choice, but I suppose if it were rolled out free to everybody, then everybody would think, why not? Might as well, really. Or many
enough of
more
us,
people would
or many
think
more
that.
people.
And then a lid would be kept on the germs and the thing and the spread, and that would be good.
Yeah, but then also people I'm sorry, are lazy about their own health and don't look after themselves. Oh, look, I've had the flu jab. Why don't they need to take
think
my
it works
vitamins?
like
And
that.
don't. But sadly, it does, and people need to be more educated and looking after their own health. Just don't go, I'll take a jab for this, take a jab for that. Look after yourself.
Do you know what the interesting thing is? And I have to slightly cede to you here, Lizzie, that when I had this dreadful flu, and I was like, what's wrong with me? Get me better, doctor. And she took a blood test and she said to me, I'm not one, she said, to push vitamins because we normally just pee them out.
Yeah.
But she said, you are actually vitamin D deficient
There you
into
go.
a blood test.
If you went out in the sunshine,
Well, it was February.
you got to go out with no makeup on
Yes.
and get some
Vitamin
But I was told I had to
D.
wear sunscreen to stop wrinkles. I mean, it's
for
all this
God's
mixed
sake.
messaging, Vanessa.
Sorry.
pretty much
Get some
impossible
vitamin
to
D
get
in
this one
you.
right, isn't it, really? It really
Exactly.
is. But I think one of the crucial things with flu is, as you say, people mistake it for a horrible
Yeah, they
cold.
do.
And they've got a bit of a temperature for a day and a half and a sore throat and their nose is running, they feel awful, and they think they've had a dose of the flu.
Well,
but that is nothing like
No,
cannot
not at all.
function
You
with real
can't
flu.
function.
You cannot function.
When I was married, I remember my ex-husband always saying, I've got flu. And I was
Yeah.
saying, believe me, that is not
That's man flu, isn't it?
It's
100%.
man's
No,
flu.
not the same. Man flu, not the same thing at
Yeah.
all. So the real impact of influenza is absolutely
Yes.
devastating and also can be fatal.
And
in
because
some
it gives you
cases.
then secondaries, you get then bronchitis
Yeah.
and pneumonia, and it leads to other
Absolutely.
things,
All right, let's move on now.